Are Greg and Maya professional reviewers? Absolutely not. Like amateurs at best, but it's okay because they're funny, smart, and kind of adorable. Bless their hearts. So sit back, relax, and tune into this week's episode of All Queued Up.
As a non-binary pals. Can't believe I messed that up. Hello, welcome to All Queued Up, the review podcast tied to streaming shows. On today's show, we're going to be talking about The Witcher Season 3, the first two episodes of Percy Jackson, and a discussion topic, and it's going to be about Jonathan Majors in the MCU. But first, I'm Greg, that's Maya. Maya, how's your week been?
It's been good. Been good. I have nothing to complain about other than this morning woke up. I was supposed to be at a doctor's appointment this afternoon, but couldn't go to my doctor's appointment because our hot water heater is on the fritz. We don't know if it's an element that's bad, and if so, which element it is, or if it's a thermostat, and we can't get it looked at until tomorrow. So, and it's a Whirlpool hot water heater. Whirlpool doesn't manufacture hot water heaters any further, and they don't even offer the product manuals on their website. No, it's a motherfucker. But other than that, everything's good. Geared up, ready for Christmas. Everything's wrapped and under the tree, and Madison is every so often, and I literally mean every time she comes down the stairs, she's like, "Is it time to open presents yet?" And I'm like, "No, Monday," and I've been giving her shit about it, but no, everything's good. I'm excited. I'm actually excited, for them to open up all their stuff and everything. I'm not excited for Christmas itself. I don't care. But as you and I have discussed, one of the ways that I convey affection and show my appreciation is gift giving.
Yep.
And, I always try to put genuine thought in it. And, I'm excited about that aspect. The actual holiday itself, it doesn't mean a thing to me.
Oh, hell beans.
But, yeah. It was cold here. It snowed this week for the first time. So Madison was supposed to go to school Tuesday and Wednesday, half a day to round out the first semester. And they put the school on a 2-hour delay Monday afternoon for Tuesday, and ended up closing school and closed it Tuesday afternoon for Wednesday. So she's been officially on Christmas break already. Which would have started, today, but it started 2 days ago. But she was exempt from all of her exams and everything, so she didn't have to do anything. So we were going to let her stay home anyway. It just worked out. The whole county said, fuck it. But yeah. She, other than that, she's been trying to convince Misty to talk me into letting her open up presents early. I said Monday, gotta wait. But how, that's me. How's your week been?
It's been all right. Other than my dad's dialysis just giving us the biggest fucking grief. It's been fine. My dad got paid yesterday because he gets paid once a month, and he gets paid a little over $2,000. After bills and grocery shopping, there's $100 left in the account.
Jesus.
Yeah, it goes quick. I mean, you got to pay the bills. You got to get it out of the way. But just been
I do that.
playing.
I do that the first thing on the 3rd of every month when I get paid. As soon as I wake up, I'll go ahead and pay the monthly bills.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Been playing some Baldur's Gate 3 off and on with my buddies, and that game's a treat. There's a clear cut reason why that won Game of the Year. There was a guy on TikTok who was like, the reason that won Game of the Year is that in Spider-Man, or Spider-Man 2, you can throw a bad guy at a bad guy. In Baldur's Gate, you can throw a child at a child. If you so choose to.
So you can beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That meme.
It's something else. Like, it's just constantly entertaining. Like, it's a time vampire. I don't know if I've said this to you before, but it's straight up a time vampire.
Yeah.
You're like, let's play, and then you play for a while, and then suddenly you're like 3 hours have passed. The fuck? It's wild, but there's something else I was gonna say. No, I forgot it out of my head. Doesn't matter. Wasn't that important. But yeah, so it's been a fine week. Nothing to complain about other than that slight frustration. But something did happen this week. This is going to be our discussion topic before we get into the reviews.
Well, you got some cool stuff this week.
Oh yes, I got a couple of gifts from Maya. I was going to mention that. That was it. That was yeah. She sends me a message. I don't remember when, and it just is a DHL delivery with the tracking number and a FedEx one with the tracking number, and I'm like, okay. And she's like, "Those are your gifts. Wait for them." I'm like, okay.
Good.
So I get the first one.
It was Monday and Tuesday, respectively.
Okay. So yeah, it was Monday, and it was right before we did my dad's dialysis. That's right, because they pulled up, and the woman's like talking to me because her little phone thing won't work, and I can tell it's a display because of their packaging. Like it just had a
it's not discreet at all.
9 times out of 10 when I get gifts from Maya, it's always been stuff related to Donatello. I have a pretty large Donatello collection, specifically from Ninja Turtles Donatello, for anyone that's not the painter. So when I opened up the display, I was fully expecting something Ninja Turtle related. I really was. But I was pleasantly surprised because it was it's like Mario staring at an invincibility star. Like his back is to the frame. It's really cool. I love it.
He's standing on a wart pipe.
Oh, it is. I mean, you just call it a pipe. Who knows if it's going to work?
I'd like to think he just crawled out of it.
It's awesome. I really appreciate it. It's really good. But the second one came when I was
the next day on Tuesday.
Yeah, next day on Tuesday, because I left to go take my dad to DeVita because of some shit. I haven't like there's cameras outside the house that'll let me know that something's going on at the house. We have them faced in a very specific section because we have this neighborhood dogs keep finding bags of trash in the neighborhood and then dragging it onto our lawn and ripping it apart. So we need to figure out whose dog it is so we can go let the neighbors know. We also need to figure out exactly where they're grabbing the bag of trash. But it also lets me know when people are pulling up. So I get a notification that somebody pulled up, and I look at the video, and sure enough, it was DHL. I was like, all right. So when I get home, I text Mom, like, the package is here. And she was like, all right, we'll hop on camera. And I open it up, and it's this, like, fucking rad, super articulated Donatello toy. But it's specifically from the IDW comic book series. And I don't know the full story, but he has like a metal shell, which I assume it's because he got his other shell destroyed, his regular shell. But again, I haven't read the comic enough to know. But no, I really appreciate those.
Hell yeah.
Fantastic.
Hell yeah.
But other than that, the week's been like pretty standard, if that makes sense. Nothing to write home about. So we'll move on to the discussion topic. Earlier this week, a verdict had been dropped on Jonathan Majors' entire situation that's happened since earlier this year. Marvel wasn't really sure what to do with Jonathan Majors, considering nobody was 100% sure what was going on. Long story short, out of the 4, what do you call those?
Charges?
Charges, thank you. He only was given 2, but they're not like good. He's going to potentially face up a year in prison or jail. And because of that, Marvel immediately fired him, like within hours, which makes sense. But this leaves a question. Now, that's Jonathan Majors' problem. And we don't, like I read the stuff that he was, like why he was guilty, and it's like, dude, the fuck, man? Like, that's not good. I don't know if you read any of it, Maya, but...
I have not.
So he never touched her. He never physically harmed her. But the verbal abuse was insane. There were text messages recorded like years ago. And it's like, dude. Like he constantly is telling her to kill herself. Straight up.
Well, then, fuck it.
So with that in mind, Marvel has now completely, like, they've changed the title of Avengers 5 to just Avengers 5. It was the Kang Dynasty. Like the only things that we're going to have of Kang the Conqueror in Marvel are what we have now. He's no longer a part of Marvel. They're going to have to pivot a lot. But they did have a contingency plan, and I read about this a while back, that if anything did come of the whole Jonathan Majors case, there was one thing that they had in their back pocket, and that was Doctor Doom. So I'm suspecting that after this like series of What If and Echo, there was another movie coming out. Oh, I guess Deadpool 3. I'm trying to think if there was another movie next year. I don't think there is. But regardless, I think there's going to be a hard pivot at the MCU because of this. That their plan is just shot in the foot, and they're going to have to bring Doctor Doom out as the next big bad.
And I'm fine with that.
I love Doctor Doom, so I'm cool with it.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoy Kang from the comics, but honestly, I wasn't impressed with Jonathan Majors' performance in anything that he was portraying these versions of Kang. The best stuff was from Loki, although don't get me wrong, his costume looked awesome in Ant-Man and Quantumania. But, a lot of people are down on Marvel right now since Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Because of their cinematic offerings this phase have been less than stellar. And, people that were usually pumped for things have not been. Some people use the excuse, well, I don't enjoy time travel, so this whole phase has been crap. Some people are like, it's not like the comics, but we know She-Hulk was like the comics. Specifically the John Byrne stuff. I think it's, and then we'll get to you, lesser known characters. Even though there's good characters, I think it's a combination of burnout after Endgame and Infinity War combined with a mix of lesser known characters, and you're initially basically what Marvel was doing in phase 1, they're redoing in phase 4 with just lesser known characters. And I think that's a lot of it combined with burnout.
I don't agree wholeheartedly. And I'll kind of explain. So I think it is, to a lesser extent, burnout on not mediocre stories, but like with, because I talk about this often with other people. With the MCU, if you go all three phases of the Infinity Saga, you go to the first one. Let's be honest. Thor was okay. It was okay at best. People talked about how it was garbage. It was shit, but like a lot of people were like, it's fine. Iron Man 2, not good movie. Not a good movie. Iron Man 1, yes. Iron Man 2, not so good. Captain America, the first, every Captain America movie has been fucking great, so I can't complain there. But you had these movies that were introducing the characters. And then you had Avengers, which was this big team up. But if you really break it down, that first phase was still quite hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go phase 2. And people tend to fucking forget this for some reason. It was also very hit or miss. And then, let's be honest, Age of Ultron. It missed for a lot of fucking people.
Yeah.
And then you got phase 3, which was arguably the best of the fucking 3 phases. But it was still hit or miss. And the biggest aspect to me that tells the difference when it comes to a lot of the first phase is that it started in 2010 and ended in 2020, right? It was a 10-year thing. That was 18 movies over 10 years. That's 2 a year. That's where the, I guess, burnout is coming from. Is that with Marvel, if you want to watch the big team-up movie, you have to kind of keep up with a lot. Like, The Marvels, great movie. I see nothing wrong with that. Well, that's not true. I don't see a whole lot wrong with that movie. But it requires a lot of the first 3 phases. You have to watch Captain Marvel. You have to watch Endgame.
You need to watch Miss Marvel.
You need to watch Miss Marvel.
You need to watch Scarlet Witch and Black, or WandaVision.
Yeah. It requires a lot before going in. And because, people talked about this before too. Like, Captain America, out of the original group, Captain America and the Hulk were the 2 biggest names out of the entire group. The general public had no fucking clue who Iron Man was before the movie came out. He was, in all intents and purposes, roughly a C-list superhero when it came to the general public.
Yeah. Now, I would argue in the comics he's definitely a B-level hero, but had been elevated earlier in the 2000s, mainly because of, him coming out and saying, hey, guess what? I'm Iron Man. And then he also got Peter Parker to do the same thing. And he started to become more elevated in the comics. But the only reason they elevated in the comics was because of Fox owning the rights to the X-Men.
Yeah. So, the other aspect that I want to bring up that I think is important to keep in mind with this, a lot of the people that are huge fans of the MCU started watching those movies when they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Between the ages of 5, 10, 5 to 15, whatever it is. So now they're adults. And a lot of people in their fucking 20s are very fucking vocal and annoying. So, instead of just saying, I didn't like Love and Thunder, they're like, it's the worst movie I've ever seen. Which at that point, I'm like, you haven't seen a lot of fucking movies then, if you think that's the worst movie you've ever seen.
There were some good things about Love and Thunder. Jane Foster was great, and I loved her as the Mighty Thor. I just hate the fact that the culmination, her entire story arc was over by the end of the movie. I think that story arc deserved more time devoted to it, but that's a nitpick.
Well, that's a valid criticism too. Like, we have to keep that in mind. There are things to criticize about Love and Thunder. There's things to criticize about every movie that's come out since Endgame. But I would argue it's too much too fast, and so a lot of the general public can't keep up. And then you have the people who are keeping up, who want that nostalgia from the first three phases, but it's not the same, and it's not going to be the same. I bring up all the time, Maya. I bring it up all the fucking time. I have been a Spider-Man fan since I was 10 years old. I have read a ton of stories of Spider-Man. I've watched every cartoon that's ever come out. Some are not good. Some are not, like, you're not going to be a fan of. To say the phrase, oh, the MCU is dead because one story came out that you didn't like, is fucking wild to me.
Yeah, it's just flat out stupid to say that.
Like, did I stop reading Spider-Man because I didn't like the Clone Saga? Fuck no.
I love the Clone Saga. I'm one of 7 people in the entire nation that liked the fucking Clone Saga.
Oh, it was the most melodramatic thing I've ever read of Spider-Man.
It was the mid-90s, dude.
But I think that's honestly the biggest problem with Marvel right now is that, and Kevin Feige knows this. That's why Echo's going to be dropped as one whole thing. That's why What If is coming out every single day starting tonight.
Oh.
Yeah, like, whatever time, like, it's supposed to be from the 22nd to the 30th, or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
And, so for anyone curious when we're going to review it, after it's over. So we're going to review the whole thing. But yeah, it was just too much for a lot of people. It was just too much. It's like, I go back to that thought process of when Solo came out. It came out 5 months after Rogue One, right? Was it Rogue One? Or was it Last Jedi?
Last Jedi.
But it came out 5 months after. And people I saw this all over the internet. I saw this opinion on so many things, like, why do we have another Star Wars movie 5 months? That's too soon. I'm like, it's 5 months. What are you doing in your life where that's too soon? Like, if you like Star Wars, wouldn't you want more Star Wars? If you like the MCU, wouldn't you want more of the MCU? It's like, yes. But I think on the other hand, you kind of have to let the creative mind work. You can't rush it. And I think that has also been a huge issue with MCU lately too, is that the CGI's been rushed, the writing's been rushed, the filming's been rushed, the editing's been rushed. And you're seeing a symptom of that in a big way. But, like, take Loki, for example. Season 1 came out 2 years ago. It took them 2 years to bring out Season 2 because they were working on it. That needs to happen with every Marvel movie from here on out. Like, time and care.
Yeah. And, apparently the whole Jonathan Majors situation forced rewrites and reshoots in Loki.
Yeah.
Like, he was completely removed. His character was completely removed from a couple of episodes and significantly reduced in others. And plans for his character, also changed. So it's interesting to see just the effects of the real world situation and his issues alone, how it affected the one series. Now they're having, because they basically put all their eggs in one basket and counted on that fucking basket, and he fucked up. And he's been found guilty, and, according to what you were saying, deservedly so.
Yeah.
no excuse for that kind of behavior in this world today. There just isn't.
No, there's not. And it is what it is. I'm not going. I don't want to dwell on Jonathan Majors being an asshole. But a lot of people. There's a video that came out of him running down the street and a woman chasing him, and people were like, "Yeah, Jonathan Majors is innocent." And then that's like a few days later that fucking comes out, and people were like, "Why? Like, is it because he's a black man?" And it was like, read the reason. Like, he didn't touch her. None of the physical charges were placed or went through. He was found innocent on all the physical charges. It was the verbal stuff. Mainly because of those text messages. People were just like, wow.
And let me just say, as a subject of both physical and verbal and mental abuse growing up, I mean, yeah, the physical abuse sucked, but I still deal with the mental abuse every day.
Right.
Every day I'm still processing that shit. I get a reminder of something. And then, dealing with the current situation of my family, which we're approaching 365 days of my family not speaking a word to me.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, as of Monday, just, today's Thursday as of recording, it'll be a year since they even bothered to speak to me. Like 2 days ago? No, yesterday, I was in the living room. I was playing a little bit of Star Ocean, The Last Hope. Still working on that one. And my phone rang. Madison was on the phone with my mom. Now, my mom doesn't know I've got a cell phone. She hasn't known I've had a cell phone. I didn't tell her I had a cell phone. It's been a while, but I've had it even before she stopped talking to me. And she asked Madison, "What's that noise?" And she said, "Oh, the phone's ringing." She told her it was my phone. And she was, "Oh." That's it. Not, "Oh, well, I didn't know that they've got a phone. What's the number?" Of course that's not going to happen. And I'm just like, oh, well, it is what it is. I'm used to it, right? That's the thing. It's mental and emotional manipulation, abuse, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It doesn't get easier and it doesn't go away.
No. Trauma is forever.
Exactly. And as my therapist has demonstrated to me and told me, and Greg has pointed out to me, I harbor trauma in a much different way than most people do. It's not fun. It's not fun. But yeah. So this guy, he's a piece of shit, deserved to get fired. But now a major corporation, which I hate calling Marvel a major corporation, but they are. I'm not a fan of major corporations, but
I wasn't.
But
saying,
yeah.
It's not Marvel so much. It's Disney. When I say Marvel to the MCU, I'm talking about the creative side.
Yeah, exactly. I get you. And I agree. But yes, they have to change this big plan. And I'm just going to go on record to say, it's not worth making a 5-year plan in your life because you don't know what's going to happen from day to day.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, yeah, so that was it was just something that happened this week, and I wanted to kind of talk about it because I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting how, creative side could change it, like what exactly they're going to do, what's the plan. So it should be interesting to see what Marvel does from here on out because, the other aspect of the fall off of, people watching the movies, like the Marvels was the lowest grossing film that they've ever made. So there has to be a change. There has to be something to kind of adjust. So,
yeah, I want to see it. unfortunately have to wait for streaming, which should be soon considering its
Yeah.
box office take.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. Oh, sorry, everybody. All right. So, let's move on to reviewing The Witcher 3, season 3.
Yeah.
We did not watch this when it came out because I think we were both dealing with the move and whatnot.
Yeah, we were both moving, and this came out. The first half came out right before we moved, and the second half came out like the week after we moved.
Yeah.
But I didn't move until July the 20th. You didn't get settled in until the 24th, and it came out like the 26th.
Yeah.
But we were still settling in. You hadn't even gotten Netflix back yet. You know. So,
yeah, that was part of it too. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So, even though I watched it when it came out, we didn't get to discuss it or review it. And this week, it's like, hey, we couldn't think of anything to watch. And I suggested it, and boom. And then, of course, therefore, you know, we realized, oh shit, Percy Jackson's out this week too. Are we adding it? Yeah, we're adding it.
That's exactly how that fucking played out.
And guess what? We forgot to fucking update anybody on the line.
Yeah. You know, we can have a soft reboot, but some things just stay the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to give a quick synopsis of the whole season.
The whole season was 8 episodes long. It was released in 2 parts. First part, June 29th. Second part was July 27th. But yes. I'm going to run down each episode. We'll talk overall at the end. But, you know, the write-ups are a little bit lengthy because a lot goes on, as we'll discuss. So the first episode was called Sherrowed. Having left Kaer Morhen, Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri are on the run from bounty hunters while continuing Ciri's training in fighting and magic. After 6 months, they settle down in a home provided by Yarpen Zigrin, the dwarf, which I fucking love Yarpen. But when an armadillo like Jackapace attacks on Rienz's orders, the trio is exposed and they decide to lure Rienz into a trap to deal with him. Francesca, Findabair, and the Scoia'tael are looking for Ciri, whom they see as the destined savior of the elves. In Redania, King Visimir is disillusioned with his spymaster Dijkstra and his court mage Philippa Eilhart's failure to capture Ciri, whom he intended to marry, so he entrusts the task to his brother Radovid. Jaskier, who secretly negotiates with Philippa and Radovid about delivering Ciri to Redania, is asked to help Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri with their plan. At the elven ruins of Sherrowed, they are confronted by Rience and the Scoia'tael, and a 3-way battle ensues. Yennefer learns a powerful mage is the mastermind behind Rience and suggests that they seek help at Aretuza. Jaskier tells Philippa and Radovid he will help them get Ciri, but they need to win her trust by taking out Rience. So, a lot more happened, but, you know, a lot goes on in these episodes. Episode 2 is called Unbound, and it opens with Geralt and Jaskier visiting in Codringer and Finn for information on Rience, and the two reveal Rience and his mastermind's base of operations to be a castle in Vulapane. Yennefer and Ciri were travel incognito to Aretuza, but Ciri's visions hinder and compromise them, causing conflict between the two until Yennefer decides to reveal her past to Ciri, which brings them closer together. In Nilfgaard-controlled Sintra, a demoted Fringilla escapes imprisonment. Cahir is saved from his attackers by Gallatin, his elven friend and member of the Scoia'tael, and they discuss the future of the elves. Rience interrogates Codringer and Finn about Geralt before murdering them. At Vulapane, Geralt slays a mutated flesh monster, which is composed of magically stolen augmented parts of 3 captured women, The captives die as each part is slain, and saves a distraught half-elven girl from the fortress. After getting her to safety, the girl recognizes Geralt and claims to be Ciri. Also, that monster. Ew.
Yeah.
What a wonderful mutated mass of ew. Episode 3 is called Reunion. Geralt brings the half-elven Ciri to his friend Annika, a druidess who learns the girl's name is Taryn, and she was subjected to mind-controlled magic. Geralt tries to extract information from Taryn, but an unknown mage possesses her and she attacks everyone. Later, an injured Annika reveals to Geralt that his mother, Vicenna, her old friend, had passed away. In Gore's Villain, Yennefer meets Tissaia de Vries, while Ciri causes mayhem in the city, drawing attention to herself once more, while she identifies what is claimed to be a basilisk to be a wyvern. After slaying the wyvern, she is robbed by an unknown thief whom she pursues before encountering Yennefer and her fellow sorceresses who take her to a bathhouse. Disillusioned and frustrated with their behavior, Ciri runs away after a fight with Yennefer. Rience meets with Lydia to discuss their next steps. After Gallatin informs Emperor Emir of Francesca's actions, Emir instructs Cahir to prove his loyalty to him, which leads Cahir to murder Gallatin, breaking down afterwards. On the run from Gore's Villain, Ciri is ambushed by the Wild Hunt, but last minute she is saved by Geralt. And I love the Wild Hunt. This is the only glimpse in the entire season of the Wild Hunt, which sucked. It made me sad. Don't get me wrong, I was excited as hell when they showed up, and I was like, oh shit. And I knew, of course, she was going to get away, but at the same time, knowing what I know about the Wild Hunt and how much I love them, that story's coming later. But still, I was hoping for more than just a peek.
Yeah, I got you.
Episode 4 is called The Invitation. Emperor Emir commands Cahir to assassinate Francesca. Upon reaching her in the Scoia'tael, Cahir persuades her to join forces in the search for Ciri. Fringilla enjoys her newfound freedom. Aboard a ship to Aretusa, Geralt, Ciri, Jaskier, and the rest of the crew are attacked by an Eshna, which Geralt and Ciri kill. At Aretusa, Yennefer convinces the Brotherhood of Sorcerers to host a conclave for mages to strengthen unity of the North against Nilfgaard. Later, Yennefer visits the Redanian court to invite Philippa Eilhart and try to win the support of King Vizimir, who orders not only Philippa, but Dijkstra and Radovid to attend as well. On her way back, Yennefer is ambushed. Meanwhile, Triss and Uhtred investigate the missing Aretusan students and the Book of Monoliths, respectively. Similarly to Yennefer and Geralt, they arrive at the conclusion that Stregobor is the mastermind behind those events, as well as Rience's actions. Ciri and Jaskier are kept in a safe haven outside of Aretusa. There, Jaskier is approached by Radovid, and they confess their romantic feelings for one another. Geralt, Yennefer, and the Northern Mages gather at Aretusa to begin the conclave with a banquet. And the next episode, The Art of Illusion, is basically a retelling of the banquet through both Geralt and Yennefer's perspectives. It says, once the banquet is over, Geralt and Yennefer discuss the night's events in retrospective. Despite his disdain, Geralt socializes with the reveling sorcerers. As Yennefer reminds him they need to lie low in order to expose Stregobor during the following conclave. Their plans change, however, when Yennefer is alerted by Uhtred and Triss about Stregobor's possession of the Book of Monoliths. Geralt and Uhtred pretend to fight to cover for Yennefer as she breaks into Stregobor's study where they discover the book, as well as apparent evidence of kidnapping half-elven students. Stregobor is arrested by Tissaia, Vilgefortz, and Artorius, and the banquet is deemed a diplomatic success. Once Yennefer and Geralt put all the pieces of the night together, however, they realize the mastermind behind Rience's actions and the kidnappings is Vilgefortz, who only framed Stregobor. Scouting the halls to clear their path, Geralt's distracted by the sounds of a distant fight and ambushed at knife point by Dijkstra. And that's how the first half of the first 5 episodes, that's where it left you on a cliffhanger for a month. And I'm like, a cliffhanger for a month? Oh, come on. The second half, the last 3 episodes, episode 6 is called Everybody Has a Plan Till They Get Punched in the Face.
Yeah.
I like that title. We see Dijkstra take Geralt prisoner. Redanian soldiers led by Philippa, along with northern mages, strike a coup and arrest mages led by Vilgefortz, who collaborated with the Nilfgaard. Disbelieving the accusation, Tissaia frees the apprehended mages only for Vilgefortz to reveal himself as the traitor and flee Aretuza to capture Ciri. Before that, he allows Nilfgaardian and Scoia'tael forces led by Cahir and Francesca to invade Aretuza. This starts a battle between them and the northern mages. Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer all reunite and kill Rience together. Yennefer then decides to join the battle, which leaves Aretuza in ruins, as many die on both sides, including Filavandrel and Artorias. Filavandrel being Francesca's husband, former king of the elves, but now she's the one in charge. Has been for, a while. And Artorias was the uncle of Francesca, the elderly black mage. Tissaia depletes much of her strength, casting a spell of last resort, and Stregobor sacrifices himself, saving the last mages standing, while Geralt and Ciri are saved by Cahir from the Scoia'tael. Encountered by Vilgefortz, Geralt commands Ciri to run. Vilgefortz shows combat prowess and defeats Geralt handily, leaving him half dead to follow Ciri to the Tower of Tor Lara, but Triss finds Geralt and takes him to the Brokilon forest. At Tor Lara, before Vilgefortz can capture her, Ciri taps into the power of an unstable monolith, unleashing an explosion which destroys the tower, which opens up into episode 7, Out of the Fire into the Frying Pan. At Aretuza, Jaskier finds and confronts Radovid about his attempt to capture Ciri for Redania in the 2-part ways. Jaskier also reunites with Yennefer, who informs him that Ciri is missing. In Brokilon, the Dryads, led by Queen Ethne, take care for the wounded Geralt. Teleported through a portal at Tor Lara, Ciri finds herself in a wasteland of the Korath Desert. Struggling to find water or food, she's encountered by a unicorn she names Little Horse, who keeps her company. Wandering the desert for days, Ciri is tormented by visions of her loved ones and a mysterious figure revealed to be Falca, a half-elven princess burnt at the stake for her crimes at Sherowed. That call back to episode 1. Or no, maybe I'm mistaken. Sorry, strike that comment from the record. Anyway, when an unnamed desert monster attacks Ciri and wounds Little Horse, Ciri is persuaded by the vision of Falcon to use dangerous fire magic to heal the unicorn. As she does, a violent fiery vision nearly consumes her before she relinquishes her magic and loses consciousness, waking up surrounded by bounty hunters. Jaskier visits Brokilon to find out that the forest has become a refuge for people escaping the war between the northern kingdoms and Nilfgaard, and he finds a slowly recovering Geralt. He informs him of rumors about Ciri being on her way to Nilfgaard. And then episode 8, The Cost of Chaos. Searching for Ciri, Yennefer and her fellow sorceresses raid Vilgefortz's fortress of Villapane, but find it empty, save for the corpses of the kidnapped Aretusan novices that they had been searching for. They encounter Philippa there, who blames Tissaia for the tragic outcome of the Thanod coup. Returning to Aretuza, the guilt-ridden and resigned Tissaia commits suicide. In Redania, King Vizimir orders Dijkstra to murder Philippa as a scapegoat for the failed coup. Forewarned, Philippa orchestrates Vizimir's assassination, crowning Radovid the new king. Yennefer travels to Brokilon and hails Geralt. He sets out to save Ciri from Emir, accompanied by Jaskier and Milva, a Brokilon archer. Fringilla and Francesca arrive in Nilfgaard, plotting against Emir, but when Fringilla accidentally reveals the truth about Nilfgaard's part in the murder of her baby, Francesca angrily leaves, swearing revenge. Later on, Emperor Emir welcomes Ciri to the Nilfgaardian court, but seemingly unbeknownst to him, she turns out to be Terran posing as Ciri. To rescue one of their own, the Rats, a bandit group, kill the bounty hunters holding the real Ciri. They test her by encouraging her to fight her kidnapper, He becomes the first. He becomes her first human kill, and the rats accept her as a member. She introduces herself to them as Falca, and that's how basically it ends. You know, we see Geralt and Jaskier heading to Nilfgaard in the end. You know, and I know there is a section in the books where they're all apart, you know. This season focused on a lot of them being together at least briefly, but setting up this next. There's a lot of setup going on. There's a lot that went on in the season. What are some highlights? Or we can start with the lowlights, whatever you want to do.
I mean, right off the bat, one of my biggest issues with the show is that, and I told you this in a text message, like it feels like it's trying too hard to be like Game of Thrones. There were so many times where like the show really, really, really likes to throw a lot at the viewer, and by a lot I mean when you watch Game of Thrones, every episode has like 8 fucking storylines going on. And you have to remember all of that going into like the next season and yada, yada, yada. But The Witcher goes, hey, this show is about The Witcher. It's about Witchers. It's about him dealing with Ciri. There's some other characters, but they're not that important. It's about Geralt and Jaskier and all that shit. Season 2 goes, it's still about that, but there's some other players here, but not too much. Okay, great. Season 3 goes, now we have a fuck ton of characters. Enjoy watching. There were words that you used in your description that I had forgotten about and just sound like made up fucking fantasy words. And by made up, I mean obviously all fantasy based words are made up, like towns and locations. But for crying out loud, like there were times where I'm just like, a scene would pop. I'm like, who the fuck is this character? I don't understand what the fuck's going on. And it was just because they just didn't. It does what like hard fantasy does, which is throw you in, no explanation, just pick up what you can. And there's not anything necessarily wrong with that. I just don't think it works for The Witcher.
Gotcha.
It's like you said, a lot happened this season. And you're right, a lot did. But I also think that was a detriment to the show itself. A lot happening like that.
I understand your point of view there. And you know, you're not alone. I don't think it was as well received. I think partly due to backlash that Henry Cavill left the show that was announced 6 months prior.
Whatever, in that regard. City, that big-ass battle happened. Or town or castle, whatever the fuck it is.
You talking about the Battle at Aretuza?
Sure.
Where the sorcerers live?
I'm going to shrug my shoulders. It's the location where the big battle happened in this show. The big-ass battle. There's one giant fucking battle that happened in the show, and it was at that location.
Yeah, Aretuza.
Okay, thank you.
That's the school for mages and their home.
Gotcha. Leading up to that battle, all we got when it came to personally that mattered in terms of story was Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer going, we got to keep Ciri safe. We got to keep quiet. We got to keep our heads down because she's being hunted. Ciri, I'm going to make as much noise as fucking humanly possible. All right, well, okay, Yennefer and Ciri, we're going to split up. I'm going to go take care of this thing, and you guys stay quiet in a place. Ciri, I'm going to make as much fucking noise as possible. It got to the point where I was, like, getting irritated with Ciri. Because I'm like, it's not you're just hiding. It's people are trying to fucking kill you. Not kill Yennefer, not kill Geralt, kill you. And you just do not give a flying fuck. The wildest thing to me. like you said, I have a teenage daughter. I kind of know what that's like. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, even if you told your teenage daughter people are trying to kill me or kill you, I think that sink in a bit. But for Siri, it was just like she just didn't care. I was like, wow.
That's the thing, and that's what symbolizes to me that Siri truly sees Geralt and Yennefer as her father and mother. Because a teenager, it doesn't fucking matter what the fuck comes from their parents. They're not going to listen, no matter what. That's why that doesn't bother me, and I see it, and I understand it. Because that behavior, I'm used to it. It's a fucking pain in the ass.
I know, because I've been around teenagers. I've many times for different various reasons. I know that they can be a pain in the ass. Teenagers to me are the worst stage of human.
Yeah.
That being said, I still think that if not most, all teenagers would get the grip, get this idea in their head. They are trying to kill you. Shush. I mean, shit, for fuck's sake. You know who you know another teenager that understood that and kept her fucking mouth shut?
Don't say Anne Frank.
Absolutely Anne Frank.
Different culture. She was German.
Point I'm getting at is that shit was driving me fucking nuts, regardless. It was irritating me to the point that I wasn't enjoying the show. No joke. And then it kept jumping back to that kingdom. And, like, there's this Game of Thrones fucking war for the goddamn crown. People on the back trying to fucking do shit to get other people killed or just do whatever. And I'm just like, man, I don't care. I don't care. I know that you're leading to something that is supposed to be important. I don't care. The story was supposed to be about Yennefer, Geralt, and Ciri. And that's it. And now you've made it into something so much bigger, and I just can't find the give a fuck.
Then you're honestly not going to find a give a fuck for the rest of the series.
I mean,
because it only
like that's.
It just
kind of expected that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's just going to expound upon that. And that's going to be a continuing thing.
I'm not saying the show's not good. What I'm saying is that particular aspect was so detrimental to me that it knocked the show's grade down. Because one of the great things about the show, I'm gonna compliment Sandwich here, it's extremely well acted and extremely well filmed. It's just the writing for it was just not there for the season for me.
Oh, that's fair. And I understand that. One thing I wanted to fucking mention, because it flew into my mind when you said you know another teenager who would have understood that. And the joke, Anne Frank. I watched a Bert Kreischer bit the other night on YouTube, and he tells the story about when he was 22 and then backpacking through Europe, and he was in Amsterdam and he was supposed to go to the Anne Frank house, and how for his entire life he thought Anne Frank was Helen Keller.
Yes.
So fucking funny.
I've heard that bit before because his daughter was making fun of him about it.
It's so fucking funny. Anyway, that just it hit my mind, and I had to fucking put it out there.
Oh, gravy. Yeah, I wish I could have liked it more than I did, but it felt like they were trying to do way more than they should have. And I don't mind. If next season is about Ciri, Yennefer, and Geralt being in different locations doing their own thing, that's great. Because it should swap between them. And if they're together, I think, in a weird way, the story suffers. Because now the writers are trying to make it about other characters, too. And I'm just like, I'm going to fucking take a nap between these scenes. Like, they were like, hey, we cut off this queen's head. And I'm like, who? Like, it felt so... What's the word I'm looking for? Not forced, but like... The writers are kind of like, you're going to pay the fuck attention to what's happening right now. And I'm like, why? You have given me, personally, zero reason to pay attention to these scenes. Am I paying attention to everything happening with our three main? Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I was genuinely shocked when the girl was like, you know who I am, Geralt. I'm Ciri. I was like, no, the fuck you're not. What the fuck's happening with that? So as that whole scene is happening with Geralt and I can't think of the bard's name. Suddenly,
Yaskier.
In that cabin with the two people, and like I was like, this is fascinating. And then it cuts back to the castle. I'm like, oh. So,
I did enjoy this. There was a scene between Yaskier and Radovid where he is basically trying to get information, and Radovid's begging him to perform. And all the people there in the presence of Radovid, they're whispering amongst themselves when they realize it's Yaskier, and one of them says, "It's the dandelion."
Oh, nice.
Because in the books and the video games, his name is not Yaskier, it's Dandelion, which is an alias. It's actually not his name, because his name is actually Count whatever. I have to look it up.
Look, man, you can't even remember all the shit. There's so much happening.
That's the thing. Here's the thing. I've not even read the books yet. I have all the books. I've not read them yet.
Thought you had.
No, not yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna wrap this one up. I'm gonna give the season a B. Like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but Jesus Christ, there was so much of it. I was just like, I don't care. And then I think the other problem I have, Maya, is that when that battle happened and so many characters had got killed, so many things had changed because of that lead up. I was like, boy, that lead up led to a fucking explosion, and then none of it mattered. So I think that was another reason I kind of was like, but.
I mean, I'm going to give it an A. I loved it. I thought it was great. I was intrigued the entire time. And I didn't mind the things that you obviously didn't care for. You know, I thought it just enriches the world. It all boils down to what somebody is looking for in a series. And, you know, me personally, I love shit like that. But, you know, I give it an A, you give it a B. Both are solid grades, depending on whether your level of lore. It's essentially lore.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. The whole show is a lore dump. I think that other than dealing with our three main, it was just a lore dump. And it was so much fucking information. And, like, unless you're really, really, really into it, it's just going to pass you by, like it did me. Like, I'm not the biggest fucking Witcher fan. I didn't finish the game. Did I play, like, 10 hours of it? Yeah, I did. But I didn't finish it because fantasy worlds have to kind of really, really grab me, and The Witcher is not one of them. Do I recognize why it's popular and famous and all this shit? Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it really has to grab me.
Oh, Yaskier's real name in both the books and the games and the series, Julian Alfred Pancratz, the Viscount de Lettenhove.
Sounds like a mouthful. Yeah.
It was. That's why I remembered the Pancratz and the Julian. I couldn't remember everything.
Well, why don't we go ahead and move on to the new Percy Jackson show, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. We have 2 first episodes.
Sure. And that's on Disney Plus, and they came out on the 19th. 2 episodes. The first one, I accidentally vaporized my pre-algebra teacher. And the second one is titled, I Become Supreme Lord of the Bathroom. Obviously, the episode titles are told from Percy's perspective. First, go ahead.
The titles are direct chapter names from the book.
I was going to make that assumption. That's makes sense because this pulls heavily from the book, based on Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson and the Olympians book series, which I've never read, but I admit ahead of time after watching these 2 episodes, I want to read them.
They're very much young adult stories, young adult novels, so keep that in mind.
No, I don't. I understand. So was Harry Potter, and
Yeah.
I used to love Harry Potter.
Emphasis on used to.
Well, it's a lot of, there's a certain degree of separate the art from the artist that I can do.
Yeah.
When the artist has become so vile and disgusting, it's hard to enjoy any of their art, even if I only already and had a love for it. It taints it. It taints
Absolutely.
it. Anyway, so 12-year-old Percy Jackson's on his field trip to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where he's given a sword named Riptide in the form of a ballpoint pen by Mr. Brunner, his Latin teacher. Yeah, okay, there's foreshadowing. Personally, inadvertently pushes class bully Nancy Bobafett into a water fountain, catching the attention of algebra teacher Mrs. Dodds, who reveals herself to Percy as a fury. Percy strikes Dodds with Riptide and later finds that no one else can seemingly remember Mrs. Dodds' existence. Percy returns home to his stepfather Gabe Ugliano and mother Sally Jackson. Percy and Sally head to their cabin in Montauk, New York, where Sally tells her son that Greek gods and monsters are real. Percy's class friend Grover Underwood inadvertently reveals himself as a satyr, arriving early and tells Sally to move Percy to Camp Half-Blood. The 3 are attacked by a Minotaur on their way, with the Minotaur vanishing Sally, causing Percy to kill it in anger. He collapses upon reaching camp and is greeted by Chiron, aka Mr. Brunner, after he awakes. That's the end of the first episode. Second episode, out comes Supreme Lord of the Bathroom. Percy wakes up in the camp's infirmary with Grover on his bedside. He meets Mr. D, the camp director, played brilliantly by Jay Mantzoukas, however you say his name.
Jason Mantzoukas.
Okay, Jason Mantzoukas.
Not Manna, just Mantzoukas.
Well, that's what I said the first time, Mantzoukas. Anyway, Jay from Big Mouth. He meets Mr. D, the camp director, and realizes that Mr. Brunner is Chiron, who is a centaur. Chiron instructs Percy to stay in the Hermes cabin until he's claimed by his godly parents. Percy meets campers including Luke Castellan and Clarice LaRue, and tries different activities to figure out his skills. Clarice and her friends attempt to dip Percy's head in the toilet, but Percy bashes them with his powers to manipulate water. Annabeth Chase recruits Percy into her team of a game of Capture the Flag. Luke tells Percy his backstory of how he and Thalia Grace recruited Annabeth and set off for camp, and that only he and Annabeth made it. Capture the Flag begins. Percy repels an attack by Clarice and her friends, while the blue team, consisting of the Athena and Hermes cabins, wins. Annabeth pushes Percy into the lake's water, causing Percy's wounds to heal. Percy is then claimed by Poseidon, the sea god. He moves to the Poseidon cabin and is told that Zeus has accused him of stealing his master bolt, and that war will ensue if not returned within a week. Percy is given a quest to find the bolt. Also noted that Percy's the only kid of Poseidon at the camp. So the cabin was completely desolate. But, I found there's more to these episodes. They're like 39 and 44 minutes long.
Yeah, but gods be fucking. Gods be fucking.
Well, Percy's mom's hot.
I mean, I get it. I'm not like the episode starts, and my first thought was just like, how many times are these guys like? Because all the kids at the camp are kids, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, Hermes, put your dick away, dude. Like, it is wild how many he's fucking. It's like, dude, Jesus Christ.
Now you're looking at least, there's 12 cabins, there's at least 20 kids per cabin.
Yeah.
Safe for Poseidon anyway. There's just the one. But
dude, it's just
yeah,
it's
there's
so many.
200-300 kids easy.
God's fuck.
Well, what else are you gonna do?
I mean, like I said, do your job. The gods exist for a reason.
Yeah, but there's only so many hours in a day, and a job only needs to be done once a day.
I mean, I would argue that Poseidon's job is maybe a bit more fucking complex than that.
Well, that's why we've got hurricanes and tsunamis and shit. But it's an enjoyable series. A little more mature than I thought it was going to be in the themes. I wasn't expecting there on Disney Plus to ever see a marble penis, but there we are.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, that's just there. But I think it's about the the art and whatnot.
Yeah. What was it? The statue of Perseus holding up Medusa's head.
Yeah.
And it was a full-on nude statue, and they showed the full-on nude statue, and I was like, well, I wasn't expecting that, but, I'm not upset by it, and I'm sure somebody is enraged by it.
Hide your kids. There's dong in your face. I don't know, I really enjoyed the show. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's got this, like, adventurous theme to it about, like, what do you call that? I'm drawing a fucking blank on that word. Anyway, regardless, I know that the book does a thing regarding disabilities, and that Percy has quote unquote dyslexia, and it's kind of hard, I guess, to do that in the show, but they did a little bit. Like, you saw that book getting all jumbled with the words and whatnot. Or the letters.
What was that?
What? Did you hear anything I said?
I heard most of what you said. What was your question?
I didn't.
You
I
cut
was
up.
asking if you saw the thing I saw in regarding to. I know that the book tries to do a thing about Percy having dyslexia.
Oh, okay. Yes. When he's looking at his paper in the first episode, when they hand him, his assignment or what have you for God, and the things seem to shift. Yeah, I didn't pick up in the moment that was dyslexia.
Well, that's my point. That's exactly what my point was in talking about this was they in the book it's explicitly said, but here they just kind of hinted at it and moved on. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, oh, that's a whole part of his character, but all right, mad at it. But yeah, I just it's got a fun vibe to it with a decently heavy theme, not too heavy because it is in a sense a family show. But I'm excited.
So apparently, there's been 6 books put out in the series, and the 6th one hit last year, and there's a 7th book the 6th one hit this year, and a 7th one slated to come out next year.
Oh. I was unaware that there were that many books.
Huh.
I mean, I know it's a popular series. So it makes sense.
Sold more than 180 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling of all time.
The only other series I can think of that has a shit ton of books and is really popular, but like secretly popular, is Animorphs. Dude, there's been some TikToks about Animorphs, and I'm like, if they ever make that into a series, that's gonna have some dark shit in it. Like, there's an entire issue of that book because it's aliens that are attacking the Earth, and kids get their powers from other aliens trying to stop the aliens attacking the Earth. That's how they're able to transform into Animorphs. But the problem is that if they transform and stay in that form for too long, they become that permanently, and then their brain like forms into that, so they just become that animal, whole and whole. And there's a whole episode where they're like, we could kill these people, but it would be like full on genocide. It's like people are talking about it, and I'm just like, that's in the fucking Animorph series, that cool scholastic fucking series where kids can turn into animals. You're telling me that that's in there? Jesus. And then this show comes out, and the first thing is like, gods be fucking. All right, I'm done with that joke.
So,
I really like doing that joke.
So looking at the, I'm looking at the list of best-selling book series. Obviously, number one's Harry Potter.
Yeah.
With over 600 million copies sold. What would you think the second one is?
Goosebumps.
It is, with over 400 million copies sold.
Makes sense.
Then Perry Mason. But over 300 million copies sold, but published from 1933 to 1973. So that's a 40-year publishing history, and it's been 50 years since one was published. So right behind that is the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series, which is kind of cool.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to watching that new movie, the animated one, that's available for streaming now. Because I enjoyed the 2 live-action movies that they did.
I was like, I've never watched a Diary of the Wimpy anything, so I don't know.
Oh, well, I liked them.
I can't like something I haven't seen. Is my point. I can't judge it unless I've seen it.
No, I understand. But yeah, apparently Percy Jackson and the Olympians is the 14th, tied for 13th best-selling book series of all time.
Well, there you go.
In fact,
I knew it was popular.
Yeah. It's actually like it needs to sell 20 million more copies worldwide to catch the Dan Brown novels about Robert Langdon.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And, that's tied to top 10. Top 10's actually tied between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different series. So, Percy Jackson and Olympians is just sitting outside the top 10 to be tied for it. So that's not bad. It's pretty awesome. So I realized it was popular. I didn't realize it is popular as it is. But yeah, the show itself is a lot of fun, and it makes me want to read the books. So
yeah, but so did Witcher, and we saw that one.
It's not went anywhere. What do you mean, saw where it went? I have all the books. Well, I haven't made the time to read the books. I have all the books. They're sitting right there on my shelf, just about 10 feet away from me. But I've consumed other forms of media too, in the video game and the 3 seasons of the series, and bought back Kickstarters, and
that's great. Well, we should read the books.
Read the book. But yeah. Definitely has me interested. The next episode comes out on Tuesday, the 26th, day after Christmas.
Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah. So they'll be coming out on Tuesday nights each week. There's 8 episodes. But I'm interested, and it wraps up on January 30th. So we'll be covering Percy Jackson through that first season.
Yep. I plan on continuing it, so hope you do.
Well, yeah. What grade would you give it based on these first both episodes?
Isn't it? It's engaging enough to keep me there and want to know what's going to happen next. I enjoy the casting quite a bit. I think that a lot of the child actors do an incredible job. There's quite a bit of it that looks like it's like hey, here's part of a set, here's a green screen, which, hits my eye pretty easily, but it's not distracting enough to where it's a problem. And this 2 episodes definitely set up an adventure, and I'm excited about that adventure. So, and again, the only movie I've seen is the first one. I didn't even see the sequel. So I genuinely have no fucking clue what's going to happen next, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this as well. No idea of what's going to happen. Not theorizing any. I just know that it's engaging, it's entertaining, it's a little bit darker than what I was expecting. But I'm looking forward to future installments of it, and yeah, I give it an A as well.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us, folks. We hit the end of our podcast. Next week, we have a heavy schedule, but it's all like short things. Like it's not a whole season. It's just 4 individual episodes and a movie. So we're going to be reviewing episode 3 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. We're going to be watching the Zack Snyder Rebel Moon on Netflix, and you can't see my eye twitching, but it is. And the reason that we decided to watch it and review it is it's extremely popular, and we haven't had something on the show that we both disliked in a long time. So I'm excited about shitting on it when we watch it. Just an FYI, we don't like Zack Snyder stuff here. If you've listened to the last 2 times we reviewed Zack Snyder stuff, it's not been good. We're going to watch the next Doctor Who Christmas special with the newest Doctor, Doctor 15, or the 15th Doctor, Ncuti Gatwa. And newest special that just dropped today, as of recording this on the 21st on Paramount Plus. It's called South Park: Not Suitable for Children, and it looks like it's making fun of or poking fun at stuff regarding Prime and Jake Paul or Luke Paul. No, Luke Paul. What the fuck's Logan. And the main plot, though, is that Carmen finds out that one of the teachers at the school has an OnlyFans page.
Fuck yeah.
So that's going to be good. So it's 4 things. We're probably not going to have a topic discussion next week just because I did want to hit all 4 of these shows. So we're going to have a heavy one next week, folks. But go and watch those. Join us next week. If we do add anything or anything changes, go follow us on the social medias. That's where you'll know when the new episodes are live as well. If you want to support us directly, our Teespring store has loads of merch for you there. If you made it to this far on the podcast, use discount code AQU15 for 15% off. It basically takes care of the shipping and handling. And that's it for me. Maya, where can folks find you? Where can folks find you is what I was trying to say. But
Facebook. They can find me on Facebook. Maya Dawn Fisher. It's a public profile. Just give me a follow. Feel free to send me a message. Engage with me as long as it's not creepy. I've had some creepy messages, and just you. Don't be you. What about you, Greg? Where can people find you?
You can follow me under Chubbrek Geek on all socials. Like I said, I've been uploading stuff on Instagram that's been pretty fun regarding video game stuff, so go check that out if that interests you. But guys, again, yeah, that's it for us this week. Thank you so much for listening. Episode 3, Percy Jackson, Rebel Moon Part 1, Doctor Who Christmas Special, and South Park: Not Suitable for Children. Go watch those, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.